Hey second grade writers, welcome to writing lesson 3. You've done a lot of planning over the last 2 days about your story. Remember in lesson 1, we made a graphic organizer that planned out our character, our setting, the big problem of the story, and the solution to the story. And then yesterday, you spent time developing your character and answering questions that would really help you to think about your character and what your character might like. Today you get to jump into the writing of your story. And just like the stories we've read and some of the things we've written this year, you're going to start with an introduction. Remember, an introduction just introduces the reader or the reader to your story and really grabs their attention. Your goal today is to be able to say, I can write an introduction that grabs a reader's attention and gives them a peek into my story. On the next Nearpod slide, you're going to watch a short video clip to help us get an idea about how a realistic fiction introduction might sound. And then I'm going to teach you 3 ideas that you might try today. All right, head on over to the next Nearpod slide and watch the video clip. All right, writers, let's talk about 3 ways that you can introduce your writing so that your readers are really going to be interested and want to keep reading your story. The first thing that you could do is introduce it with a setting. Remember, a setting tells when and where the story is happening. So you might write something special about when and where the story takes place. You would use details about where and when it's happening so that your reader might start asking themselves, I wonder what's going to happen at this place, and want to keep reading your story. You might start by using sound, using a sound word that grabs the reader's attention. Sounds like bam or crash. To do this type of introduction, you have to think, what is a sound that my reader might hear, especially during the problem part of my story? That might make them want to keep reading to find out what happens. And finally, you might start with dialogue. Think about what the character would say. If you start with dialogue, your reader might think, oh, I wonder what's going on or who that character is that's talking, and keep reading your story to find out. When we're writing realistic fiction stories, we can try out each of these ways and then choose the way we like the best. The first thing that I want to do when I'm thinking about my introduction is I want to try out a couple of ways before I pick the one I like the most. I'm just going to do this on the back of a page of writing paper. If you have blank paper, you could do it on that as well. So first I want to think about the setting. Well, my story, if you remember, is about a character named Elizabeth who's on the playground and she falls and breaks her arm. This particular story is going to happen at the school playground, and I'm going to name it after my school when I was in elementary school, called Carson Elementary. So I can introduce the story by writing just a little bit about the setting. So it was a sunny day, and we're at Carson Elementary, and Elizabeth is on the playground. That would help my readers to know where I'm at. So I might write an introduction that sounds like this. It was a sunny day at Carson Elementary. Elizabeth was on the playground. Oops, forgot my R there. With her best friend, and if you remember from my character questionnaire, her best friend's name is Tracy. So now I gave my readers just a little bit of an idea of where and when the story was taking place. It was taking place during the day at Carson Elementary, and she's with her friend Tracy. So that's one way I could do a setting introduction. Now let me try a sound introduction. The big problem that's happening in this story is that Elizabeth is going to break her arm. Now, it doesn't happen right at the beginning, but I could start with a sound and then draw them into the story. So I remember that, I'm thinking that when Elizabeth hit the ground, it probably sounded like this. And I can write the word thud to make that sound. So let me do that. When I write a sound, I like to make it in all caps when it's a loud sound. So I'm going to write thud. And then tell them a little bit about that sound. Elizabeth hit the ground hard with her arm twisted under her. So now I've given them a little bit of a sound, even told a little bit about the sound, and then I could begin the story and tell them what was happening. And then finally, we have the dialogue. Remember, dialogue just means characters talking. So what might Elizabeth say that would lead my readers into this story? Well, in this story, Elizabeth is going to be trying to go across the monkey bars as fast as she can. So maybe she'll say something to Tracy about seeing if she can do it in less than 10 seconds. I think I'm going to start with that. So remember, when we have dialogue, we put quotation marks. That's a sign that a character's talking. And so here we go. She's going to say, I bet I can get across the monkey bars before you count to 10. And then I put another set of quotation marks because that's the end of what she said. And I'm going to say who was talking. Elizabeth said to her best friend Tracy. Okay. So now I have some dialogue. So now that I've tried out all three of these types of introductions, I need to pick my favorite. And I really think that my favorite is going to be the dialogue. I like how it opens with a character talking, and right away we're introduced to two of the main characters of our story. So what I would do now then is get a piece of writing paper, and I would write this introduction that I picked onto my writing paper. Notice when I was writing these, I was writing really fast. I didn't really use good handwriting. I just kind of threw it down on the paper. So here is where I would use my very best handwriting, and then I would add a sketch to go with my introduction. That's what I'll do during independent writing time. Okay, writers, now it's your time for independent writing. Here's your job. First, on a blank piece of paper, I want you to try out the three types of introductions, just like I did, and circle the one you like the most. Then I want you to get a new piece of writing paper and write the introduction you chose. Be sure you add an illustration to match. This is going to be for your actual story. So the first three are just kind of sketch it out, write it out, get your thoughts out on paper. But when you choose the one you like, make sure you use your best handwriting and you think carefully about how to write your sentences. All right, writers, head off, try out these introductions, and don't forget to come back to the Nearpod because I want to hear you record your voice reading the introduction you chose. Have fun!